Have you got too much on your plate? Are you making too many decisions that should be made by others? Well, you're not alone, are you? But there's a simple solution. Watch this short video to find out what it is. I'm Bob Wendover. When I was in my 20s, I spent a few summers driving a delivery truck in New York City. In those days, before cell phones, I kept a bunch of dimes in my pocket because of Bobby. You see, Bobby was the dispatcher for the trucking firm, and every morning he would give me half a dozen assignments all over Manhattan. And then he would say, "Call me when you make the first delivery." And I would do that. And then at the end of that call, he would say, "Call me when you make the next delivery." And so it would go throughout the day and throughout the week. And he did the same thing to all the other drivers as well. Now, at first, I thought, he doesn't trust me. And then I thought, what a nuisance this is. But I couldn't really rebel. This was a summer position that paid pretty well. So I let it go and I played his game. And at one point, one of the drivers asked him why everyone had to call in after every delivery. His response? Well, he said, because I might need you to make a pickup somewhere along the way. But in 3 summers of working for Bobby, not once was I asked to divert for a pickup anywhere. In reality, this was all about control. Now, I'm not judging him. He probably suffered under the same kind of control routine when he was a driver. You see, in this day and age, we no longer deal with this kind of analog setup. Amazon, UPS, FedEx, and others can track every move their drivers make right down to the street address at any given time. And the same is true for over-the-road truckers. To take a few extra minutes for a potty break and you'll probably get a call from dispatch asking you why the truck isn't moving. But this issue is not confined to trucking and delivery vans, is it? Companies try to track everything these days. Contact customer service and that person is on the clock. Call for technical support and the technician is being measured by the number of contacts per hour. I once called Comcast and said my name was Bob Wendover. And the rep said, well, we don't have a customer by that name, and ended the call right away. And I called back and said my name was Robert Wendover and was helped immediately. I found out later that subtle mismatch allowed the first rep to end the call but still counted as one of his contacts for the hour. Can you believe it? How does this encourage quality work, or more importantly, critical thinking? There are those who would argue that we don't want them to think. We just want them doing. We'll tell them what to think. But that ends up fostering distrust and burnout and employee turnover, and in some cases unionization. The baristas at a certain coffee chain around the country have come to mind because of that. Countless senior leaders have complained to me about all the decisions they're forced to make because their people just don't make them. Well, the first question I always ask in response to that is, well, how much do you encourage those around you to think on their own and use their own way of getting things done? Bottom line, you can have control or you can have productivity, but you can't have both. But here's the thing. With control, you also have stress and overwhelm. You can't get your own work done because you're conditioning everyone else not to think. They're happy to do that because it's safer, and they still get paid, right? Is improving the decision culture around you harder? Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is at first. But it takes time to engender that trust and compel people to think. On the other hand, it pays off in more productivity, less turnover, and more critical thinking. And this adds to the bottom line. It has a positive impact on your work and your life balance. So in reality, it's your choice. I'm Bob Wendover.